Welcome back. We are going to explore doing duplicate arrays. Now, we've duplicated before, but we've never done an array. And what an array is if you can imagine being in a computer lab, for example. All the desks are sort of lined up and they're evenly spaced, and there's computers on each desk, and there might be 30 of them in there. Well, you don't want to draw each one individually. What you want to do is draw one station and then figure out what the spacing is in the x-axis and in the y-axis, and then you can do a duplicate array and say, I need 5 columns and I need 6 rows, and they have to be so far apart in the x-axis and so far apart in the y-axis, and you press the button and presto, they're all there. So that's what a duplicate array is. Now, you hopefully have opened up this little example or sample that I gave you here, and this is what we're going to do right now. This is something that you don't do that often, but it's a nice thing. I just wanted you to understand what it is so that if you ever do need it, you can revisit this again. So I'm going to move this. Well, before I do that, actually, let's do this. Let's just talk about, we're going to start with this radial array here. We're going to draw a circle that has a 3-inch diameter, and then we're going to draw some little circles that have a 3/8-inch diameter, and what we'll do is we'll attach it right here at the very top and then move it down 3/8 of an inch. And then I'll show you how to do the array. Okay, so I'm going to do that now on my Vectorworks program. And so what you can do is just open a file. We don't need any scale on this. It can just be 1-to-1 since we're just drawing in inches and they're small things. And I don't like this grid, so I'm going to turn it off. You know how to turn it off too. Come over here to Document Settings, Document Setup, Grid, and I want to get rid of Show Grid. And I also want to make sure that the grid is turned off on my snap palette right here, which it is. Okay, so I'm going to grab the circle tool. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to say put in a diameter of 3 inches and center at next click. Okay, and I'm going to put it right up about here. Okay, beautiful. Now I'm going to double click the circle tool again. I'm going to type in the diameter. You can type in either the radius or the diameter, whichever one you change, that's what it'll default to. So let's see, what do we say, 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to put it right here on top, and just so that it pops, I'm going to give it a color. So let's give it, we'll make it red. Okay, now I'm going to move it down. So I have the little circle selected, Command M for move, and nothing in the x-axis, but I do want to go -3/8 in the y-axis. And there it is. Okay. Now, there were 10 circles there. I don't know whether you noticed that or not, but there were 10 of them. And so here's what we have to think about. How many degrees are there in a circle? Well, there's 360. And if we want 10 of these guys, there's going to be an angle between each one of those. And 10 divided into 360 is 36 degrees. So I chose a real easy one. We could have done 12, or we could have done 8 or 9. We could have done anything we wanted, but I just used 10. Okay, so let's go back over here. Let's make sure that that little circle is selected, and then you're going to come up here to, and I never know where this is because I do it as a key command, duplicate array right here, duplicate array. And the key command is, it's kind of it's Shift Option Command D for duplicate. And on a Windows machine, it's Shift what would it be? Alt, Control, D. Okay. So now I've already got some of the information in here. We're going to do a circular array. So right up here at the top we have a choice between a linear array, a rectangular array, and a circular array. We're going to do a circular array here. And we want 9 duplicates, right? Because we already have one. The angle between the duplicates is going to be 36 degrees. You don't have to put the degree symbol in. We don't have any z-axis. That would be for 3-dimensional sort of stuff. What we want to do now is on the next mouse click, we want to click at the center of the 3-inch diameter circle, because that's what we want the little circles to radiate around, is that center point. So I'm going to click next mouse click, OK, and click in the middle here. Voila. Ooh, I goofed up there. Let's go back. I'm glad I did that because I can show you now what I didn't do. Everything stayed the same here. We have our 9. We want to retain the original object. So there we go. And click, and there they are. So that's a circular array. So next we're going to do another circular array, but first let's take a look at our example here. We're going to draw a rectangle with rounded corners. And the rectangle is 6 inches in length, 3 inches in height. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we have a couple of choices here. We have our rectangle tool that we've already used, but we also have a rounded rectangle tool. Let's try that. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to say that the width is 6 inches and the height is 3 inches. The diameter in the X is going to be 3 inches. Diameter in the Y is going to be 3 inches. And we're going to position at next click. And there it is. All ready for us. Now we could have, and I should probably just show you this as another option. I could have drawn a regular rectangle that is 6 by 3 and position it in here. Here we're going to use the Fillet Tool, which is right here. Fillet Tool will allow us to put a radius on a corner, basically. And its sister tool over here is the chamfer tool, and the chamfer allows us to chamfer it or bevel the edge of where 2 lines intersect. They both function just about the same. So let's use the Fillet Tool. We'll click on it, make sure that it's highlighted, and up here you'll see 3 modes, and then it allows you to put in what the radius of the fillet is. Now notice it's a radius now, it's not diameter. And you could, if you wanted to, you could put in, if you didn't know what the radius was, but you knew the diameter, if it was, if the diameter was like 16 and 9/16, and you didn't want to do the math on it, you could just put that in and divide by 2. That'll give you the radius. So I'm going to just do that, 3 and divided by 2. And that, by 2. And then these modes over here, this mode is going to leave the 2 segments that made up the corner intact. They will still be there. You'll have the radius, but the corner will still be there. This one allows you to, it does basically the same thing, except it trims the 2 segments into individual pieces so that you could delete one of them if you wanted to. This is the mode that you're going to want most of the time, the trim mode. So let me show you how this works. Just going to come over here, touch the rectangle, touch it there where you want the angle, touch here, touch here, touch here, and There we go. We have the same object now. All right, so now let's do our radial or our circular array first. And let's steal one of these circles up here and we'll bring it down. Now it's important where you put this. And you know, a really good way to position this thing is go to the arc center. So let's move it up. Command M. And let's move it up. We don't want to move it at all side to side. We want to move it up 1 1/2 inches. And let's do that. And there it is. Now that way we know we're in the right place. All right. Now let's drop it down. Let's select it. Let's drop it down 3/8 of an inch. So we'll go Command M. We'll go -3/8. And there we are. Now let's do our array. We'll go Shift Option Command D. And we're going to do again, we're going to do a circular array. And let's look at our example. We need 6 of these guys, 6 duplicates. So there's 12 total. If you add all of these up and don't count the first one here and add all of these up, don't count the first one here, you'll have 12. Okay, so we've got 6 of them that we need to duplicate and mirror. So let's go over here and let's put in 6. The angle, if we didn't know what it was, we could put in 360 degrees divided by 12 if it was a full circle, or we could put in 180 degrees divided by 6. We want to retain the first one in place, and next mouse click and OK, and there we go. So there's our circular array. Now let's do a mirror duplicate. And I'm just going to select those circles, and I'm going to go to the mirror tool, make sure that I have mirror duplicate on, and I'm going to come to the midpoint, draw my line, and there we are. All right, let's do the linear array and then the rectangular array, and we'll be done with this. I'm going to draw a little square that's 1/4 by 1/4. And I'm going to place it right here. I'm going to give it a fill. And let's make it look like my example. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do a linear array, meaning I'm just going to create one row of objects, any number that I want, that are equally spaced apart. Okay, so that's the way you want to think about it. You want to think about how many do you want, and what spacing do you want to have between them. So let's make sure that that guy is selected, and it is. Shift Option Command D. Let's do a linear array. Excuse me, we want 5 duplicates, and the distance between the duplicates is going to be 3 inches divided by how many spaces? If there are 5 duplicates, there are 6 spaces. And that is because we are starting here. We're not starting over here, right? We have an extra space here to get to the first one. And we're not going to retain the original. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. There we go. So normally you would have one less space than objects. But in this case we had one more because we were starting, because normally you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you started here, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously. So that's how I did that. So now let's do the rectangular array. Now we're going to do it two ways. The first way, we're going to since we have these here, we're going to consider this as one column. And when you do rectangular arrays, you think in terms of rows and columns, just like a spreadsheet. The rows are running horizontally. That would correspond to the x-axis, and the columns are running vertically, corresponding to the y-axis. But we're going to think of this block of 5 here as one column. Okay, so let's make sure they're selected. I can see that they are. I'm going to select Shift Option Command Duplicate. I have one column. I have 4 rows. Stacking, don't worry about that. That's 3D. That would be if you were stacking them up in the z-axis. Distance between columns in this example would be 0 because we only have one, and so there's no distance. There's no other one to have a distance from. And then let's look at this distance here. Now we have 4 lines, 4 rows that we want, and we have 3 spaces between those rows. And the distance that we're working within is what? 3 inches minus 3/8 and minus 3/8, which is 3/4, leaving us with 2 1/4. Okay, so let's go back. Let's put in 2 1/4 divided by 3. And very important here, since we're starting at the top and working down, we want a negative sign in there, don't we? And we want a negative distance between the rows. And furthermore, we want to retain the original object. And I'm going to click and hold my breath, and there it is. So there you have it. We've done a circular array, we've done a linear array, and we've done a rectangular array. All 3, once you get used to it, I don't use them that often. So hope you enjoyed that. You can put that in the Dropbox. You should have it completed, and we're all good. Okay, see you next time.